Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. My name is Alan Smason, and it's been my pleasure to broadcast many years now. I think it's 6 years on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, theatercriticism.com's Facebook page, and my own YouTube channel. We're going to talk about getting tickets for an important show a little bit later. Again, what I wanted to do was first talk about an important show that I saw, which has its roots starting in New Orleans, but really emanated from far away. Again, what I'm talking about, for those of you who don't know, is last night at Rue Bayou, which is a new show, and I had the privilege of seeing it this past weekend. Those of you who are not in the know, it's at Storyville. And Storyville is the place that, of course, I think used to be, and I can be corrected on this, but I think it used to be Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville and possibly B.B. King's club, now owned by Taylor Hackford and Helen Mirren, the famous actress. And we're going to find out a little bit about how that came into play and how that venue was secured. But the first two people I want to bring in are the producers. It's not often that you get to get a chance to see a new production in New Orleans. And what makes this really unusual is that it's all local roots people. That is people who are either born in New Orleans or have had a long history of being in New Orleans. I think that they're all established as natives, but they definitely have all lived here for a long period of their lives, and they know the territory very much. Now, the people who probably don't know the territory as much are the producers. We're going to bring them in right now. First off, Tony Castrigno and Mark Rubinski, who are the producers behind MTTM Productions. And welcome, first off, to the show, guys. Appreciate you being here. Mark, where are you? You look like you're in some sort of a Bywater area.
Yeah, we're on Treme Street, and I'm in the courtyard.
I wasn't far when I said Bywater.
Yeah. And I thought this would be a perfect time to be outside.
Yes, yeah. Yes. And Tony, where are you? Are you here in New Orleans at a hotel or at a house?
I'm actually in the house that Mark is in the yard of.
Ah, okay. Well, that's
on
good.
Treme.
Hopefully, no problems. And again, welcome to the show. I do appreciate you all having the time to talk about it. I know it's got to be a journey for you guys. First off, the germination of doing a New Orleans-centric show. You guys hail from the New York area, right?
We do, but we have both spent a great amount of time in New Orleans. And when we have a chance to talk to the conceiver of the show, Mike Meth, he was immersed in the world of New Orleans for some time, and it inspired the show.
Yeah.
So we saw it in a reading in New York, loved the music, loved the idea of the show, and we've known Mike in another life for many years. So we stepped in. Wouldn't you say that right, Mark?
Mark, I'm sorry. My connection is not very good.
That's okay.
We can try to get on a different line.
Okay.
You can hear me? Okay, great.
We can hear you fine. Why don't you just go ahead? Let's just try to weather through it and see if we can get you. You only froze a little bit there. So go ahead.
The question was, Mark, I was just talking about how we hooked up with Mike, and you took me to the show.
Yeah. Sure. So I've known Mike for many years. He's a neighbor and a friend, and I've worked with him in many different incarnations. And when he showed me that he had this show that he had written, I thought we should really look at this. And we did, and we took a look at it, and we said, we have to do this. And I also have spent a fair amount of time down here in New Orleans, and which I've always loved to come to with work and both work and pleasure. And so there it was born, seemed the most logical thing we could possibly do with this show.
Well, again, I think probably since it seems like Mike is the guy who got in here, we're going to bring him in just a second. But as I always mention to everybody, this show started during the pandemic. We always have a little something to cheer, whether it be alcoholic or non. This happens to be a little bit of something called critics hit
Mhm.
78, which was basically it's my own creation. It comes from Israel, and of course we have Israel Independence Day coming up in about another couple of hours. But this actually is my own creation, as it were, and I made it really New Orleans because it's a Yat Pack. If you know the Yat Pack, they're a group. They sing a cup, a glass, if you will, for me to enjoy. And again, Tony, what did you bring in?
Oh, I just brought it in Arnold Palmer.
Very nice.
I am NA today.
That's okay. And Mark, you also going sober?
Maybe not this evening, but this is also an Arnold Palmer as well.
Okay. Well, we know you all
Cheers.
are good. Let's bring in Mike, and we're going to bring in the director in just a little bit too, because she's the person who really made the vision complete. But Michael Math, appreciate your being here with us.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit. You also were a constant visitor to New Orleans. You soaked up the culture a little bit.
Yes, and I often say I had a teenage crush on New Orleans. Just starting with the music that I would hear. I grew up in the Midwest, but I just sort of had this vision of New Orleans as a place I really wanted to be. So eventually I did get to actually come here. I came here a few times on business, and they were fairly quick trips. And so it was mostly focused either around the convention center or, the quarter and that sort of thing. Then I had another instance where I came down for over a month. And that gave me a lot of time to get away from those parts of the city. And I went out on a bicycle and just was finding all kinds of things and talking to people and exploring out of the way neighborhoods and galleries. And and the music, of course, and the food. And at that time, many of the bars too. And I started to think, well, how could we do a story that is set here, yet not just be a spectator experience? How can we share the experience of being in the New Orleans culture? And obviously it's very big, you can't do everything, but how could we do that? And I had experience creating these types of things for corporate clients, in which we try to, in that case, immerse attendees in a brand. And I thought, how could we do that same thing with a New Orleans story? And I thought, well, putting it in a place where there's music and food and party, that's a good start. And then I started to think about what the story could be. And that took a long time. And Katrina happened in that. And I thought, well, maybe a hurricane would happen, but I don't want it to be realistic. And gradually the story came into my head. And like many writers, I can be a world-class procrastinator. And I had the idea floating out there. And then COVID happened. And just like you started this podcast during that, many of us in the theater and in the live experience business suddenly had a lot of time on our hands. I got involved in an online theater community. And the woman who ran it was also a dramaturg. And she said, do you have any ideas for shows? And I said, yeah, I do. And she said, okay, well, I'm going to be your accountability partner, and we're going to meet every week, and you're going to have something written on the show, and we're going to have it written in 6 weeks. It actually took about 8 or 9 weeks to get the first draft. And that's really how it got started. And then I found Marty LeBeau, who was also, we had a lot of time on our hands. And I said, you want to take a shot at writing one of the songs? And she did it quickly. And it was exactly what I had in mind. I said, you want to try another one? And she did, and went right from there. She nailed everyone. I had written the lyrics, and I'd say, this one should have this kind of a feel. And she absolutely made it perfectly. She believes that she has a soul dating back to New Orleans, that she was here in a past life. Okay. And maybe that's why she has such an affinity. She also is world class.
She's not with us tonight, but
She couldn't be. Yeah.
she's all in on the show. But I have to say, you give her the idea, and she writes the music, and then you write the lyrics to accompany. Is that the way it works?
No, I write the lyrics first.
So she sees the lyrics, and then she writes the music according to that. So it's sort of like Bernie Taupin and Elton John. They kind of do that. He gives them the lyrics, and then Elton John writes the music, right?
I don't know for sure.
You're being compared to Elton John and Bernie Taupin. You just say yes, please.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, exactly. Wow,
all right,
you nailed that one, Alan.
So anyway, so Marty couldn't be here, but again, I'm not quite sure. Where did you all meet before you actually? You said you met her, you knew her before. Where was it that you all had worked on a project similar to this?
No, I knew Marty as a singer, and she had performed at some of our events. And then I was talking to Erwin Fish, who was our music supervisor, and I said I was looking for someone to compose this. I had reached out to the New Orleans community, and I didn't have any luck there. And he said, this is really Marty's forte. And I said, the singer? He said, she's a songwriter. And indeed, then, yes, she had a contract with Atlantic Records.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, let's bring in the person who kind of is the glue, brings it all together, the director, Tracy Conyer-Lee, and let's find out from her her experience. Tracy, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here. And I'm sorry you had to go last. Ladies should go always first. Your
Not
first
a problem.
part is nothing else. But we wanted to establish, that you took on this project after, I guess, Mark and Tony had started to helm it a little bit, and Mike had written it with Marty. So can you tell me a little bit how they first approached you, how you first became aware of this?
Well, I was actually in the reading that Mark and Tony saw that was presented. For me, I didn't know Mike or anyone involved at the time, and I if correct me if I'm wrong, my name came across his desk through a mutual colleague, and
yes.
it was I consider it still COVID because theaters weren't open yet, but we were starting to emerge from our homes, and we did this reading, and it was something for me to do to get out of the house, and I thought that was the end of it. And I don't know how many months later, but Mark and Tony had come on board in the interim, and I saw Mike's name in my inbox, and I thought, oh, the guy from that show, what's going on? And he said there were some producers interested, and they knew that I directed as well. And I was earlier in my career, in my directing career. I've been a New York artist for over 3 decades, and my master's is in playwriting. So I also do a lot of script consultations. So it was a really, well, we kind of speed dated to see if we'd all get along, and we're on the same page about how we wanted to grow the work, and it just seemed to be the right fit. And when I first started working with Mike alone, just on the script development, I was so impressed with how he takes notes and runs with them. It was just a really wonderful process watching the script continue to grow. And that's how we started. Well, for a good, almost, I'm gonna say 9 months or so before we even got into a room with actors to hear it.
And shows change, they evolve. How much of the original show is intact from what it was, and how much has it been changed since you first got involved as a director?
Mike's story was great from the beginning. So the story hasn't changed. How the story manifests, the execution of the telling of the story is what has changed. And that it's changed significantly. But what is at the core of it, who the characters are and what they represent, and what he wanted to share and show and have emanate through New Orleans, about New Orleans, and for New Orleans was always there. The plot and all of that existed before any of us on this in this room, except Mike. His
Yeah,
idea.
and again, New Orleans is such a special place. This is a show that is, for the most part, about people of color, people who have a specific kind of connection to a part of the culture that may not be seen by a lot of people. The music, the blues, the Mardi Gras culture, as well as encompassing some of the Cajun Zydeco culture. I mean, there's a lot of country as well as the New Orleans spirit that's in here, and much of the team, the cast that's on stage, is different from the creatives who are coming up with the writing, the music, etc. And I think you're kind of like the special conduit through which a lot of this flows into the actors, etc. As the director, and your vision is so important to realizing this work and making it as special as it is. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about how you went about determining how you wanted to present on stage and what kind of staging you wanted to do.
Well, a lot of the staging for this production has been determined by the incredible magical space that we are in by some amazing stroke of luck of the universe. So the fact that we're not in a theater and that we are in a club doing a show about a club, and the just very meta experience that is unique to this production here and now informed how I needed to tell this story here.
And not only are you in a essentially a bar, a lounge, and immersed in that, people who walk in, they're treated to a gumbo. They get to have a choice of either vegetarian or what you would call, our traditional gumbo. And then they have an opportunity to have drinks from different sponsors, the Marsh House Rum, Mockley, Urban South. I mean, all these people contributing, and they all get to have their products sampled by the people in the audience, which is fantastic. And then, of course, they're real bartenders who are serving their drinks. And so you can't but help feel that you're part of an experience that is not like any that you've ever had the experience of being in a theater. I mean, maybe when you went to see the musical Once, where they allowed you to go on set and get a beer, from the pub, that might have been closer. But this is really even more than that, because you're feeding people, and they're really being able to enjoy the show and the actors, etc. Mark, Tony, were you the ones responsible for actually securing the location?
Yes, well, we had found another place, and we were looking into that, and we decided we should look a little further abroad. And we were very used to taking raw space and making theaters out of them. So that's what we wanted to find. And we found someone to take us around and show us about 7 different places. And the last place they showed us, we walked in and we went, wait a minute, this is the Rue Bayou.
This is it.
This was it.
This was it. And it's a classic case of Alan, of a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy. And as it also happens, the owners of the club, who you alluded to earlier, are creative. They're an actress and a film director. And our agent, the agent that showed us the space, had to go pitch them the idea of us using the club for this purpose. And they were very amenable to the idea. They were very generous with what they asked from this little production versus a full-on commercial enterprise relative to what they could get for the space. So we really feel blessed. And as Tracy alluded to, it kind of crafted what everybody experiences, because she had to fit into it. The Rue Bayou lounge and pre-show experience, fit into the vibe. You walk in off of Frenchman, right off the French Market.
Yes.
It's people peer their little noses in all the time saying, what's going on here? What's going on here?
I do want to say I made the offer, and if she's listening, Ms. Mirren, if you would like a part, I will happily write one for you.
Okay,
So
well, you know what?
out there.
I don't know how she could resist, but I did a little research myself, and I did find a little bit but the bar was actually, at one point, it was owned by Taylor Hackford's son, who unfortunately has passed on, but it was him and his wife, I guess, or his partner, who were really kind of running the place. And you all just were fortuitous that it came after he had passed, and it was available, that they were using for event spaces, and that you were able to do that. Tracy, when you saw the place, it did not have. You have a fantastic set designer. Would you probably want to mention her name as well?
Raquel M. Jackson.
I mean, amazing,
Designs.
amazing. And what she did to the place, she really has made it a very special kind of environment that I'm sure is not there, or previously had not been there prior to her arrival. So I'm sure that she must have had quite a time decorating, setting the set, et cetera, striking it all. So tell me a little bit about her experience and how you came to know her.
Well, I was introduced to her by Tony and Mark, so they could probably say better how they came across her. But I do want to say the space, before Raquel got to it, as Mark and Tony said, the space was the Rue Bayou. It was clear from Tony and Mark's original photos that we were in the right space. And what Raquel was able to do was take it from being a space with the right vibe to a gorgeous event. You experience, I shouldn't say event, experience, the way you described it. It's not just a show, it's an experience.
Well, I want to throw a couple of pictures out from some of the production photos that I finally got today, and give some people some opportunities, and maybe we could talk about some of the cast members. They're not in any particular order, but just as they came in. This is a little bit, and you can see Donald Jones Jr., who is a recent recipient of our Crescent City Theater Awards as Best Leading Actor in a Musical for Ain't Misbehavin' last year at Le Petit Theater. I would say he's probably the male lead in this, if you're going to talk about a male lead, and he has a rather interesting character, sort of part preacher, minister, and part soul singer, but he also has another secondary part, which I'm not going to go into, which manifests itself later. I don't think that's necessary for people to know right now when they're coming, but he would be like the first person I would think of as the person who brings the cast together, kind of links the spiritual part of the Rue Bayou with the real and what's going on in the real world. And again, these are some of the people who actually work, on stage and carry out the characters. And again, many of them are dressed as waitresses at the fictional, if you will, Rue Bayou, and they're taking on their persona of those characters. And there again is Donald Jones Jr. with several of the other cast members on stage. And again, the lighting, I should also mention, the lighting is quite exceptional. Corey Paddock. Now, is Corey from New Orleans? I'm not familiar with the name. So where did Corey come from?
Corey's from Mark and I. He helped us with a project in New York a few years ago. He was represented here in town not so long ago by A Wonderful Life, the Louis Armstrong musical. And I think his Gatsby has passed through town too.
Yes.
So
recently gas and fantastic lighting on that. And I was lucky to see the first iteration of A Wonderful World with James Monroe Iglehart here at the Sanger Theater. And then it was mounted on Broadway, and I got to see it again with James, a very wonderful actor and big heart. That show should have probably done a little bit better than it did, but I really was happy to see his story, Louis Armstrong's story, presented, and the ability for James to do that. And again, hardly anybody knows it, but this is another result of the pandemic, just like Tracy, you mentioned the pandemic got you to kind of get involved with this project. James had the same thing. He had nothing to do. He heard about Louis Armstrong, didn't know anything about him, and started doing research and became interested in bringing his life to the stage. And I guess it's sort of the same with what Mike was saying. The pandemic also gave them the ability to concentrate on a project that they may not have had time to do otherwise. So, we can thank COVID for giving us some cultural experiences that we might not have enjoyed, had we just been operating per se normally. But again, for those of you who are just joining us, we want to mention that tickets are available for this show, and they're. I'm going to go ahead and put the banner on so you can get them. Tickets are available at www.ruebayumusical.com. So if you're interested in going, and I suggest very strongly, go with two, at least maybe four people, because you can sit at a table, two couples, fantastic. You can chat among yourselves about what's going on, and I really think the experience is heightened when you go rather than by a single person, but with a couple. I think that they can really enjoy it and get into it a little bit better. Again, Tracy, I'm going to throw some more pictures up, but again, I want to know how you picked the cast. Was it open call? Did you do it in New York? Did you do it here? How did that work?
We did a myriad of things, but we do have a New York casting director, a casting director team, one who has great ties here in New Orleans, and so they came and scoped out what the scene is here, and we learned how the avenues by which local artists learn about auditions. And we initially began with people submitting. So I received resumes and videos and headshots of actors in their other performance lives, videos of just hearing them sing, seeing them act in other things that they've done. And that gave us a good bit of information. And then our casting directors were also live here locally to take in auditions.
When did it become sort of an imperative to have local talent, people who had connections to New Orleans?
Right from the beginning, 100% right. It was the absolute driving force for doing the show with and by people who know the stories that the show is based on. And they've been so helpful. I think everybody would agree in keeping the show on track, everything from small things like pronunciations to calling in
a spiritual guides
and leaders, right? Go ahead, Trace. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, there is a huge spiritual element to the show. And one day our rehearsal evolved into a very long discussion about how the different elements are being received differently by the cast, who are all local but have different experiences with these elements. And it taught me and us that we need someone who is an expert to come unify these understandings. And I nervously brought the request to the producers and said, I think we need to hire this. And the instant response was, so we're getting exactly what we came down here for. We're learning exactly what we need. Great. Yeah. And so we had a wonderful advisor actually come more than once and come see the show and love the show. But we did Mike implemented specific changes that we learned because of that experience. And we've continued to just have details. We've made our own details as a company that has been together for several years, but some changes were made very specifically.
And I think it's important, after Katrina, they had a show that was on Fox, I believe, called K-ville, and they attempted to talk about different things that happened in New Orleans after post-Katrina experience, and they had good intentions, but they came up with things like gumbo parties that people said, what in the heck are they talking about? A gumbo? We don't have gumbo parties. There's no such thing. And so they were trying to make, I would say, a Hollywoodized version of New Orleans that fit in the vision of the writers, rather than soaking up the culture and learning about what goes on in New Orleans and finding out a little bit more about where gumbo is made and how it's sent out, and that we don't have gumbo parties, but we have family gatherings and we serve gumbo and other things of that sort. I never did mention, Tracy or Mike, what did you bring into the room tonight to enjoy?
I am a teetotaler, so that's what I have.
Tea. And Tracy?
I've had about 2 sips of my woodchuck pear cider.
All right. Well, at at least we have a little variety. That's the best thing, again, I hope that everybody understands, we try to just sort of connect in a way. We're all in the same room, we're all enjoying each other's company, we're all having something to drink, and therefore talking about the same thing that we're doing the last night at the Rue Bayou. And again, this is slated to be on tap, literally and figuratively, for several more weeks. The end date, is it May the 3rd? Is that the
May 3rd?
That's correct.
Yeah. Which is, I think it also unfortunately corresponds with the last weekend of Jazz Fest. And I guess when people heard about the dates, somebody must have said, Tony, Mark, did you realize that you're scheduling up against Jazz Fest?
We were scheduled up against French Quarter Fest too, and we got a lot of people from the festival.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people will only go one weekend of Jazz Fest, or only maybe one day, and schedule a night to come see last night at the Rue Bayou, because I think it really would enhance their Jazz Fest experience. And again, anybody who's not had a chance to see it, I want to throw a few more of the production shots out, because it is an extraordinary show with some really wonderful people. Now, this is Queen Shireen. She is a phenomenal singer and performer, great actress. She's been in a number of productions at Le Petit, etc. And she has one extraordinary song that I remember. I took notes. I have to go back and go check out my notes, but I believe it's in the first act.
Invocation.
Yes, Invocation. Oh wow, unbelievable! And again, part of that spiritual aspect that you were talking about. And again, I hope that you all are as excited as I was to watch her performance. Again, one of many. We have a number of other really gifted young actors who are on stage. We mentioned Donald, of course, in his role, and that's another young lady who takes on a role opposite. I know Tiny is a person her interest, but that's
Ariandra Tucker and Caldrick Will.
Yes. So again, local talent, filling the bill, and that would of course be Caldrick, right? That we were talking about.
Caldrick, yeah.
And again, he is the, well, I don't want to give anything away, but he has a connection to some of the characters that are in the show that is revealed later on. Again, a fantastic set design. You can see that the colors are they just jump out at you, and you can see a little bit of the nature of the dancing, the choreography. And again, that was by Julio Agustin. Can you tell me a little bit about how he got involved?
Yes, Julio and I first collaborated in, we were performers together in a show in 1993. He was my first New York roommate. And during COVID.
It was a high school. You were in high school then, right?
Yeah, yes. And during COVID, I wrote the book and lyrics to a show inspired by his career in show business. So COVID gave us that opportunity. And so we've been collaborators in different capacities for years. He is also a director, a beautiful dancer, choreographer, actor, and singer, and has been traveling the country, just a nomad in terms of his artistry. But I knew as soon as I came on as director and I started to understand the musical element of this show, his was the first name that came to mind. And I didn't mention it. I just kept it for years because I knew he would understand this storytelling. He comes from a household that practices similar spirituality. And just also, I know that he is someone who teaches cultural choreography really well. And this work is culturally specific.
We mentioned Donald Jones Jr. a couple of times. Donald is also a pretty well-known, highly regarded choreographer.
And is our associate on the show.
And I want to say that I understood that from after having talked with some of the people after the show, he had a specific piece of the puzzle that he brought to the choreography in terms of his being able to make available a space for you all to rehearse. Correct? Tell me about that. How that came about.
I don't even know how that came
That
about.
was
Tony or Mark?
Yeah, well,
Mark's
we were down in the venue, and we were surveying it, and we invited Donald to come over because we knew that he was going to work with us as the choreographer as well as with Julio. And he came in, and we were just conversing and talking, and we were having a challenge finding a good rehearsal space. And he said, "Oh, well, I'm just opening up a space." And we said, "Oh, really? Is it big enough?" And we went over, and that minute we went over and saw the space, and we realized that it was going to be perfect. And I think he had opened the doors a couple of days earlier, so we were the first folks in there, and it turned out to be exactly the right place to rehearse.
Tony, did you and Mark look at each other and go, "God works in mysterious ways" or something?
Yes, it was one of those moments that you think, well, this was meant to be. And then P.S. he had a rehearsal space for the band. And, it was over in, it's not exactly Bywater. Is it, Mark, where he is?
No, I don't think it is.
Laramie
I'm
area.
not clear of the neighborhoods.
Yeah, but so
1300 Mandeville Road.
Yeah, it's probably Mandeville
Road. Yeah, it's a great space. People should use it.
Yeah, and so it was
grand opening happened after us, and it's beautiful.
Right. That's how new it was. He had not even officially opened, and that's why it didn't come up on our radar when we were doing searches. But so much of this show fell into place by being here. We were several times just driving through the city, getting a sense of what was possible, walking the streets at night, getting a sense of what was possible. And, as you can see, you're catching just a glimpse of the space in some of these photographs. We walked in, sat right down and said, "This is it." And then we realized how small the stage was. Then we realized there were no dressing rooms. Then we realized the kitchen wasn't working. Then we realized that the front door on Decatur Street was never going to open because the street wasn't going to be finished.
Right.
Here we are.
I want to give a shout out to Khadija, because
Yes.
if there's anybody who's really kind of like the leading lady, Khadija Ane Higdon, is that Ane? She's fantastic in this one. And of course, when I talked to her afterwards, I said, "You were in Color Purple." She said, "Yeah, I was in Color Purple on Le Petit." I said, "But didn't you also tour?" "Oh yeah, I did that too." It's like, that's like usually most people say I do the national tour. She talked about her doing it here, the local show first, but she's fantastic, great voice, great presence on the stage. You're dealing with legitimately a production that could go to Broadway, could tour. I just think that you've got a lot going on here, and again, should be congratulated, especially for the fact that you're using local talent, but that not necessarily local people yourselves. Although you probably have some kind of connection, or this wouldn't have happened to begin with. Tracy, the show's now opened up for the first week. Get ready for week number 2. Anything you learned in the last week? Anything you feel like you've moved on that
So much. We've learned a ton.
So
that was the goal. The goal was to figure out, especially because we are immersed in the culture and immersed in people who are this play. The goal was to find out what we didn't know, to know what we didn't know. We can't fix what we don't understand. We don't know. And so, yes, there have been a lot of learnings.
And again, Mike, I know even though Marty's not here, I'm sure that she was very pleased. I could see there's a big smile on her face at the end of the performance that I saw last Friday night. And I assume that you all figure that it's in a good stage where it is right now, that you're happy to see it released to the world, as it were.
Absolutely. And Marty doesn't come from the world of theater. She comes from the world of recording and the music business. So for her to see it totally come together, and actors, the characters coming alive, and how they could use those songs and tell a story, for her, it was like very joyful for me to see that she saw, oh, I get it now, because it just was a different world for her. And I think that's one reason why it works so well. We wanted songs that real musicians would be singing in a bar, in this genre, not traditional musical comedy songs. And I think she nailed it, as did our cast.
Well, aside from the comparison from Bernie Taupin and and Elton John, you might also mention to her that since she was the composer of the songs, maybe not as famous, but Dolly Parton did the same thing. She took her songs and brought them to Broadway and made a musical out of it, making her second musical now after 9 to 5. She's getting ready to do her next iteration of a musical. So again, it's not unprecedented that people who are songwriters can actually helm a musical and have the people who know how to do it properly do the heavy lifting for them. So
we have Alicia Keys and Sarah Bareilles now too.
Absolutely. I have to say though that the fact that this is starting off in New Orleans, it's got its really excellent points. I feel like it's almost like a product that has been nursed here in New Orleans, and that it could possibly take off. I don't know whether or not the connections will be as strong elsewhere. But a good story is a good story, and I think if the songs stand the test of time, the lyrics stand the test of time, that this show could actually have some legs elsewhere. It doesn't have to just be in New Orleans; that it could actually take the story of New Orleans and show it to the world. So congratulations on all that you've done. So Mark and Tony, I don't think you're going to have too much chance to enjoy the New Orleans culture as much, since you have so much invested in the show. But I do hope you get a chance to go out and enjoy some of the local scenes.
We have. I've been to Acme at least 5 times. And up and down Frenchman. We're going out to dinner. We're going out to dinner tonight. The 4 of us.
Tracy, what's been the most amazing place, since you don't come to New Orleans as often probably as these guys? Where's the most amazing place you've been to that you really found remarkable?
Well, I haven't done much of anything until yesterday. Yesterday was the first day that I could go, and I did a lot. I took the streetcar to Canal, and then we went to the Garden District, and then I went to Audubon Park, and I saw the Tree of Life, and then we walked down Bourbon Street, and so I did a lot of that. And today I had a beautiful brunch and gave out our postcards, because I've been to that brunch place a couple times, and they said, we'll spread the word about your show. So thank you, Ruby Slippers. I apparently I'm going to eat some. I had some really good food at Jazz Fest. Jazz Fest was not Jazz Fest. Sorry, the French Quarter Fest.
French Quarter Fest, yeah. Jazz Fest is coming though. Really be here day after tomorrow. So look out for that. Mike, anything you want to add for people just who are maybe on the fence, and what we could talk to them about coming in?
It's just an honor to be doing the show here, and to hear the reactions that we have been getting from people who clearly are natives, as well as people outside. The laughs, the recognition, it's so gratifying. Having started this just me at a desk during COVID, and when you see it come alive, and that's the way I imagine it is one thing, and then it comes, and it really is in the bar. It's just a dream come true for that.
Well, I want to thank again all of you for being here today, and again, we're lucky that we were able to get you all together, not just in one room on Friday night when I saw it, but also here to tell everybody about the story. Tony and Mark, MTTM Productions. Does that stand for something in particular? I know the M might stand for Mark, and the T might stand for
Tony, Mark and Tony, Tony and Mark. Either way.
Okay. So forwards and backwards. Very good. Very good. And again, Tracy, break legs. You know that even though you're a singer, that there are always legends and superstitions. So we never say anything about suerte, as it were. So yeah, but again, I hope that you continue to do well. And Mike, please give my my best wishes to your partner Marty, and that I hope that this is a rich experience for you as well. I'm going to ask you all to stick around for a little bit. Again, last night at the Rue Bayou, playing at the Storyville venue that's located, I think, number 4 French Marketplace.
French Marketplace.
And I think that it's just off of Decatur. You can't miss it. If you're coming back in from the back end of the Mint, the New Orleans Jazz Museum, you'll find where it is. And again, I'm going to ask everybody to stick around for just a little bit while I say goodnight to everybody. Again, Mike Meth, thank you for being with us. Tracy Conyer-Lee, the director, and of course the 2 producers, Tony Gastrino, and of course Mark Rabinsky. We appreciate you being here. This is Alan Smason wishing all of you all a wonderful night. And again, I hope that you enjoyed our production tonight of New Orleans Theater Talk. We show this on Facebook pages for theatercriticism.com, as well as the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, and also on my own YouTube channel. So again, those of you who haven't had a chance to do so, you might want to go to the web, check out www.ruebayoumusical.com and pick up your tickets. Again, we appreciate everybody from being here. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you at the theater.